There are a lot of unforgettable characters in Hunter x Hunter. Gon is one of the most fascinating protagonists in Shonen because the more the story goes on, the more we realize his innocence has a dark side. Killua starts as a child raised to kill, but slowly becomes one of the most human, emotionally grounded characters in the series. Hisoka is terrifying, unpredictable, and somehow impossible to look away from. Chrollo and the Phantom Troupe are villains, with personality, loyalty, and philosophy. Meruem goes from being a merciless king to one of the most emotionally complex characters in the entire series. But out of everyone in Hunter x Hunter, there's one character whose story feels especially painful. One character who, from the moment we met, is already carrying a tragedy that shaped every part of who he is. And that character is Kurapika. Kurapika is intelligent, loyal, and compassionate, along with disciplined and deeply principled. But he's also consumed by revenge. His entire life has been redirected by one horrific event, the massacre of the Kurta Clan. And what makes Kurapika so tragic isn't just what happened to him, it's what he's willing to do to himself because of it. This is why Kurapika may be the saddest character in Hunter x Hunter. So let's get into the details. Before we get into it, this video will include spoilers for the Hunter x Hunter anime and manga, especially the Hunter exam arc, Yorknew City Arc, and parts of Kurapika's later story. Kurapika's tragedy is not just about his past, it's about the way his past controls his future. A lot of anime characters want revenge. That's not unusual. Revenge is one of the most common motivations in fiction. But Kurapika's story works so well because Hunter x Hunter doesn't treat revenge like something cool, or simple, or heroic. It treats revenge like a burden. Kurapika's mission gives him strength, but it also isolates him. It gives him purpose, but it also robs him of peace. It gives him power, but that power comes at a terrible cost. And the more Kurapika succeeds, the less it feels like victory. That's the genius of his character. Now, one of the biggest reasons Hunter x Hunter is considered one of the greatest anime and manga series of all time is because of its characters. Yoshihiro Togashi doesn't write characters as simple as heroes and villains. He writes them as people with contradictions. Gon looks like a traditional, cheerful shonen protagonist, but he has a frightening selfishness beneath the surface. Killua looks like a dangerous assassin, but he becomes more empathetic and emotionally mature over time. Leorio initially seems greedy because he wants money, but his goal is actually rooted in compassion. He wants to become a doctor and help people. Hisoka is a villain, but he's not motivated by world domination or ideology. He simply lives for the thrill of fighting stronger opponents. Chrollo is a murderer, but he's also calm, thoughtful, and deeply connected to the Phantom Troupe as a family. Meruem is introduced as a monster, but his relationship with Komugi forces him to develop humanity. That's what makes Hunter x Hunter so strong. Characters are constantly reflecting and contrasting each other. And Kurapika fits perfectly into that structure, because Kurapika is a good person walking down a dark path. So when we first meet Kurapika during the Hunter exam, he's calm, serious, and focused. He's not loud like Leorio. He's not carefree like Gon. He's not playful like Killua. He carries himself with restraint. But that restraint is important because it tells us something right away. Kurapika is constantly holding something back. Under the surface, there's anger. Not ordinary anger, not irritation, not pride. A deep burning hatred. Kurapika is the last survivor of the Kurta Clan, a people known for their Scarlet Eyes. When members of the Kurta Clan experience intense emotion, their eyes turn a brilliant scarlet. Those eyes are considered incredibly beautiful, and because of that, they become valuable on the black market. Phantom Troupe slaughtered Kurapika's clan and stole their eyes. This is one of the darkest backstories in Hunter x Hunter. Kurapika didn't just lose family members, he lost his entire people, his culture, his home, his future. He's not grieving one person, he's grieving an extinction. And that changes everything about him. The massacre of the Kurta Clan is horrifying not only because of the number of people killed, but because of the reason behind it. The Phantom Troupe didn't just wipe out the Kurta Clan because of a war. They didn't do it because the Kurta Clan was a threat, and they didn't do it for some grand political reason. They did it for profit. They killed people, took their eyes, and sold them. That detail is what makes Kurapika's pain so understandable. From his perspective, his clan was reduced to merchandise. Their humanity was ignored. Their suffering was turned into a transaction. The Phantom Troupe didn't just murder the Kurta Clan. They objectified them. And Kurapika is left with the impossible task of carrying their memory alone. That's why he becomes so obsessed with retrieving the Scarlet Eyes. To Kurapika, recovering those eyes is not about revenge. It's about dignity. It's about giving his people some form of peace. It's about refusing to let the world treat them as collectibles. But the tragedy is that this noble goal is tied to a destructive one. He wants to honor the dead, but he also wants to punish the living. And those two desires slowly start to consume him. What makes Kurapika's arc even sadder is how different it is from the arcs of the other main characters. Gon becomes a hunter to find his father, Jing. His journey begins with curiosity and adventure. Killua joins Gon because for the first time he wants to choose his own life. His journey is about escaping the control of his assassin family and discovering friendship. Leorio wants to become a doctor. His journey is about ambition, but also service. All three of them are moving toward something. Kurapika is moving backwards. Gon is chasing the father he never knew. Killua is chasing freedom. Leorio is chasing a dream. And Kurapika is chasing the past, sadly. The difference matters, because while Gon, Killua, and Leorio are trying to build futures, Kurapika is trying to settle a debt with history. And no matter how strong he becomes, no matter how many enemies he defeats, he cannot undo what happened. That's the core tragedy of his character. Kurapika's goal is emotionally understandable, but it's also impossible to truly complete. Because revenge cannot resurrect the Kurta Clan. One of the brilliant parts of Hunter x Hunter is the Nen system. Nen is not just a power system where characters punch harder or shoot bigger energy blasts. Nen reflects personality, discipline, limitations, and emotional commitment. Kurapika's Nen abilities are a perfect example. Kurapika is naturally a conjurer, but when his eyes turn scarlet, he becomes a specialist. This gives him access to Emperor Time, an ability that lets him use all Nen categories at full efficiency. On paper, that sounds unbelievably powerful, but the cost is devastating. In the manga, it's revealed that every second Kurapika uses Emperor Time, it shortens his lifespan. That detail is essential. Kurapika's power literally consumes his future. That's not just a cool ability. That is character writing through mechanics. Kurapika is so committed to his mission that his own life becomes fuel. Every time he uses Emperor Time, he's sacrificing time he could have spent living a normal life. Time he could have spent with friends, time he could have spent healing, time he could have just spent becoming something other than the last survivor of a murdered clan. His Nen is tragic because it turns his obsession into a physical cost. Kurapika is not just emotionally destroying himself, he's biologically destroying himself. Kurapika's most famous ability is Chain Jail. A chain that can restrain members of the Phantom Troupe and force them into Zetsu, making them unable to use Nen. It's an incredibly powerful ability, but Kurapika places a condition on it. He can only use Chain Jail against members of the Phantom Troupe. If he uses it on anyone else, he dies. That's one of the clearest examples of how far Kurapika is willing to go. He builds his power around revenge so completely that his own life just becomes part of the contract. That's what separates Kurapika from many revenge-driven characters. He's not casually angry. He's not simply saying he wants revenge. He designs his entire Nen identity around the Phantom Troupe. His power is specialized hatred. And if you think about it, it's pretty heartbreaking. Because Nen rewards resolve, and Kurapika's resolve is terrifying. He becomes strong because he's willing to give up everything. But that strength is not freedom. It's a cage. Kurapika's chains are weapons, but symbolically, they also represent his own imprisonment. He uses chains to capture the Phantom Troupe, but he's chained to them too. As long as the spider exists, Kurapika cannot move on. And maybe even if the spider dies, he still won't be free. The Yorknew City Arc is where Kurapika truly takes center stage. And it's one of the best arcs in Hunter x Hunter because it forces the audience to just sit inside the tension between justice and revenge. Kurapika joins the Nostrade family as a bodyguard because it gives him access to the underground world where the Scarlet Eyes are being bought and sold. This already shows how far he's willing to go. He enters a morally corrupt environment because that's where his mission leads him. Then the Phantom Troupe appears, and the moment Kurapika realizes the spider's nearby, his demeanor entirely changes. He becomes colder, sharper, more dangerous. His hatred is no longer theoretical. The people who destroyed his clan are right in front of him. When Kurapika captures Uvagin, we see the full force of his rage. Uvagin is one of the strongest members of the Phantom Troupe. He's physically monstrous, confident, and brutal. But Kurapika defeats him. The fight is satisfying because Uvagin is part of the group responsible for Kurapika's suffering. But it's also disturbing, because Kurapika is not happy afterward. He wins, but the victory is empty. Uvagin dies, but Kurapika's pain still remains. That's the point. Revenge gives Kurapika a target, but it doesn't heal the wound. Kurapika's conflict with Chrollo is especially interesting because Chrollo is not a simple villain. Chrollo is calm, intelligent, and strangely introspective. He values the Phantom Troupe. He sees them as more than criminals. To him, they are a collective identity. This creates a dark mirror between Chrollo and Kurapika. Kurapika lost his clan. Chrollo leads his own chosen family. Kurapika wants to destroy the spider because they took everything from him. Chrollo wants the spider to survive beyond any individual member. That contrast makes their conflict deeper than good guy versus bad guy. Kurapika is trying to avenge a dead community. Chrollo is trying to preserve a criminal community. And when Kurapika captures Chrollo, he gets closer than ever to destroying the Phantom Troupe. But again, the situation doesn't feel triumphant. Kurapika is forced to negotiate. Gon and Killua are in danger. His friends become involved in the consequences of his revenge. This is another major part of Kurapika's tragedy. His mission doesn't only hurt him, it pulls the people he cares about into danger. And one of the saddest things about Kurapika is how isolated he becomes. At the beginning of the series, Kurapika is part of the main group. Gon, Killua, Leorio, and Kurapika have a real bond. They pass through the Hunter exam together. They risk their lives together. They laugh, argue, and protect each other. But as the story continues, Kurapika separates from them. This is not because he doesn't care about them. He clearly does. In fact, that may be part of the reason why he wants to distance himself from them. Kurapika understands that his path is dangerous. He knows the world he's entering is dark. He knows his enemies are powerful, and he knows his own anger can make him reckless. So instead of leaning on his friends, he carries the burden alone. That's painfully realistic. People consumed by grief often isolate themselves, not because they lack love, but because they don't know how to exist normally around others anymore. Kurapika is surrounded by people who would help him, but emotionally he remains alone, because he believes this mission is his alone and his responsibility. And this is what makes Kurapika so compelling. He's not evil. He's not cruel by nature. He's not motivated by greed. He doesn't enjoy hurting innocent people. At his core, Kurapika is caring. He values life. He values loyalty. He values justice. He's capable of kindness and deep friendship. That's why his revenge is so tragic. If Kurapika were simply a hateful person, his story would not hurt as much. But he isn't. Deep down, he's a good person whose goodness has been twisted by trauma. He wants justice for people who can no longer speak for themselves. That's noble. But his pursuit of justice keeps turning into self-destruction. And Hunter x Hunter refuses to give us an easy answer. Is Kurapika wrong to hate the Phantom Troupe? No, I wouldn't say so. Is he wrong to want them punished? Not necessarily. But is he destroying himself in the process? Absolutely. That moral complexity is what makes him feel human. The audience can understand him and still fear what he's becoming. Revenge stories often promise catharsis. The hero loses everything, trains hard, finds the villains, defeats them, and finally gets peace. But Hunter x Hunter is smarter than that. Kurapika's story suggests that revenge may not bring peace at all. Even if Kurapika kills every member of the Phantom Troupe, what happens next? The Kurta Clan is still gone. The years he sacrificed are still gone. The life he could have lived is still gone. The friendships he neglected are still damaged. The pieces of himself he gave away don't automatically return. That's the saddest possibility of Kurapika's arc. He might succeed and still lose. In fact, success may be the final tragedy. Because if Kurapika's entire identity is built around revenge, then what's left when revenge is complete? Who is Kurapika without the Phantom Troupe? Who is Kurapika without the mission? Who is Kurapika if he no longer has hatred to keep him moving? Those questions are terrifying because Kurapika himself may not know the answer in the end. Kurapika's later role in the manga continues his tragedy. During the Succession War arc, Kurapika becomes involved with the Kaken Empire and works as a bodyguard for Prince Wobble and Queen Udo. This arc shows another side of Kurapika, his protective instincts. He's not only a revenge-driven character, he's also someone who can defend the vulnerable. His care for Wobble and Odo reminds us that Kurapika still has humanity. But even here, he's still under pressure. He's using Emperor time. He's exhausting himself. He's operating in a dangerous political environment filled with Nen users, assassins, and hidden agendas. And because Emperor Time reduces his lifespan, every moment of power comes with a cost. This is where Kurapika's tragedy becomes even more intense. He's still capable of doing good. He's still capable of protecting people. But the same abilities that allow him to protect also allow him to destroy himself. That is such a painful contradiction. Kurapika's strength is both his gift and his curse. Kurapika's arc hits so hard because it's not just about revenge. It's about grief. It's about survivor's guilt. It's about identity. It's about what happens when someone feels like they're the only person left to remember the dead. Kurapika does not just want to punish the Phantom Troupe. He wants to prove that the Kurta Clan mattered. He wants to recover their eyes because the world turned them into objects. He wants to make sure their suffering is not forgotten. That's why his story is so emotionally powerful. But the tragedy is that Kurapika's love for his clan has become inseparable from hatred for the spider. His devotion is beautiful. His obsession is devastating. And the line between the two keep getting thinner. So is Kurapika the most tragic character in Hunter x Hunter? I think so, personally. Other characters have suffered, obviously. Other characters lose. Other characters are changed by pain. But Kurapika's entire life is defined by a loss he can never reverse. He's one of the smartest and most capable characters in the series. But intelligence cannot save him from grief. He has friends who care about him, but friendship cannot automatically pull him away from his revenge. He has incredible power, but that power costs him his future. And that's what makes Kurapika so heartbreaking. He's not tragic because he's weak. He's tragic because he's strong enough to keep going down a path that may destroy him. Kurapika's story is one of the reasons Hunter x Hunter stands above so many other anime. It understands that revenge is not simple. It understands that grief can become identity. And it understands that sometimes the saddest characters are not the ones who give up. They're the ones who keep going, even when every step costs them more of themselves. But what do you think? Is Kurapika the most tragic character in Hunter x Hunter? Or does another character deserve that title? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more anime analysis. And if you haven't already, don't forget to watch a video I did on Hunter x Hunter, which was a review, and it explains everything from Nen to Gon to his journey and the dynamic between him and the other characters. So take a look at that. And thanks for watching. I'll be seeing you on the next step of our journey. Take care.